Let's take a look at some information and charts on Bancor for BraveNewCoin, one of the earliest AMM style DEXs that did their ICO in 2017, raising 152 million USD at the time, with several slices of distribution in the pie here. This has changed somewhat with the burning stuff going on as far as the supply curve, and something I still don't completely understand, the VBNT stuff, where it doesn't necessarily get burned, but goes to a burn address. I think the point is that they have some sort of burning mechanic. The swap functionality itself looks just like everything else in DeFi land, which is perfect. The interoperability is the same. The functionality is the same. They have limit orders here as well, which is great. Every DEX should have that these days. Their pools look a little bit different in that they attempt to mitigate impermanent loss with heavy BNT rewards. I think part of the issue with high rewards and incentivizing TVL is you're incentivizing TVL at the cost of token appreciation, as far as I can tell, which makes sense to some degree. This isn't an issue that is only present on Bancor. I see it with comp, where on a technical level, the chart should have broken out and it just didn't. I see it on Curve, where again, on a technical level, should have broken out, didn't, is just kind of flatlining at a certain level price-wise, even with a decline in the supply. So I think it's a delicate balance. It's a dance. It's a give and take. It's a Goldilocks, just right principle, because you want TVL, you want liquidity. Liquidity begets liquidity. You want fees for people in the pools. You want impermanent loss to be low to, again, attract TVL. But there's just a lot of moving parts here with a lot of these DEXs and AMM models, and there's a lot of competition. And I think a lot of it, just the money just flows wherever the money can make the most money at the lowest risk. So they're looking for high APY, APR, whatever, and on a bridging chain maybe, and that's going to hurt BNT, volume, token price, TVL. All this stuff is very intimately connected. But occasionally, even my trades on Enzyme get routed through Bancor. So there are times when it does become advantageous to use Bancor over ZRX or Paraswap or Uni or Sushi or any other DEX based on fees, based on slippage, that sort of thing. 83% of BNT is staked currently, which is a super high percentage. They also have a governance component-ish to Bancor, just like every other DeFi coin. That isn't going to move the needle, specifically until there's a super divisive proposal put forth. And then you have people voting accordingly, and people are talking about it. But I haven't heard of anything super recently regarding Bancor and proposals that were divisive. If you look at the daily volume right now in the orange here, Bancor, certainly a tiny, tiny slice. Uni, Sushi, 1-inch Curve, ZRX, Balancer, and Bancor. So Bancor is definitely one of the smaller slices of the pie, and in the orange here again, almost barely noticeable over time. So I don't know what it's going to take to eventually merge some of this volume. Can things like Bancor just persist indefinitely at number 10 in volume per day? Or will all of the liquidity just get sucked to the big boys where the incentives or fees are, the Unis, the Sushis of the world, or some other chain, right? I think Bancor's best bet is going multi-chain, much like Sushi has ended up going multi-chain. And monthly DEX volume in the navy green, I guess, down there, barely perceptible as well. So definitely one of the smaller players in the DEX game. If we look at TVL over the past year, it has declined slightly, but overall pretty flat. Volumes definitely rather flat. Transactions rising and falling as fees pick up elsewhere. That's the other thing. These smaller DEXs can thrive in a hyper-competitive environment when fees are high, wait times are high, user load on the chain is high, stuff like that. Because there are times, like I said, when Bancor does have trades worth taking relative to the other exchanges. Users down significantly as well since June. If you look at the market cap over the annualized ratio or the PE ratio, Bancor sits in the middle. And in general, you want to focus your attention on stuff that's over here. This is a lower multiple of market cap to revenue. So Aave's got a 4x market cap to revenue. Synthetics has 110 market cap to revenue. Now, this isn't going to necessarily move the needle price-wise by itself, but it helps give you clues as to far as taking market cap into account. Even Uni with a massive market cap, they still ratio-wise spanked the pants off of Bancor at a ratio of 7, Sushi 4.7. To me, market cap over annualized revenue is more important than TVL over annualized revenue. But even then, Uni, Sushi, DYDX in the mix now, Aave, Comp, all ahead of Bancor, and Curve at the absolute extreme here because its TVL is typically going to be the highest out of anybody based on what goes on there with the minimal impermanent loss, basically like assets being traded between one another. So for me, the market cap over annualized revenue conversation makes more sense than TVL. TVL is very incentive based anyway. If you look at Bancor in the United States, the Google trends are basically flatlined here. And I can't look at this worldwide because I think it's a bank somewhere, Argentina. I think it's something in Argentina. I should know, but I don't. But anyway, you have to focus your attention on the Google trends in the United States, and they're basically flat. Flipping gears to technicals, this is the 365 MA in the green, 5 times that in the red, and the midline in the white. Generally, the green is the buy zone, the red is the sell zone. And right now we are in the green zone, delving deeper. We're approaching anything below 250 would be a multi-month low. Anything below 120 is below the yearly open. I don't know if we get that low in one go, but if everything's weak across the board, crypto-wise, I do expect some of these to break their previous July lows, May, June, July, whatever lows that they have. So ideally, you're a buyer, not a seller when you're in the green zone. That's the other thing. You don't want to be holding coins that you should have sold up here, right? If you're trading this, you don't want to be holding those when you're already in the green zone. And on the half-year MA, we've been deep in the green for a couple months now. And the 1-year MA probably looks a little better. You can see how it just ping-pongs around, bounces around. You can trade this as a range, obviously. It's an oscillator. It's targets ahead of time, mapped out, right? Like I know if this bounces, it's probably going to go to 11. And if it breaks 11, it's probably going to 20 based on the multiplier, based on historical highs and lows around these levels. So the half year doesn't make too much sense. It hasn't really tapped the highs except the one time, and most of its life has been below the half year MA actually. Flipping gears to the 5200 and the crosses of the 5200 on the daily. Currently it's crossed bearish, and it's been bearish for a couple months now. Wasn't able to muster a bull cross. So it's below the 200. It's hard to be bullish on that. Below the cloud, can't be bullish on that, right? But at the same time, if you're in it for potentially months, this does look like a buyer's area, right? This is an investor's area, I guess, rather than a trader's area focusing on trend with EMAs. You're buying in the green here, assuming it goes lower until it is above that 1-year MA again. But anyway, it is bearish on the 5200. Not a lot of volume until like 90 cents, 50 cents. There wasn't a lot of volume up here over these past couple months since January. So there isn't really any volume support in this area. What I really want to see if I'm trading this is a bull div on RSI on any lower low. Even, some sort of triple bottom in RSI in Q4. It doesn't look bullish for Q4 for a lot of DeFi stuff currently. This would have to get above 4, above 390, which would be bullish on the cloud into Q4 October. A lot can happen between now and late October, but that's where it needs to be to flip the switch to go bullish again, just like it did in January. Otherwise, the expectation here is lower lows. The expectation is lower lows. The expectation is bear trend until this can pattern out inverted head and shoulders. It loves that. Historically, double bottom, triple bottom, W, Adam and Eve, something to save this from what looks like is going to be a free fall. BNT BTC also looks like a massive range trade. Anything near, let's say 4K sats, right? Let's not get greedy and hope for anything below 3.5K. Let's just say 4K sats is probably where even I'm going to start buying Bancor relative to BTC because historically that has been the range mode, 4K to like 18 to 20K, something like that. Currently very bearish though. on EMA crosses and starting to lose this volume level. The next volume level down would be around 6,500 sats, and BNT ETH looks like it's headed for all-time lows, even though it has a multi-month bull div. The thing about charts that look like this is when they are bullish or when they are bearish, there is no in between. It is one or the other. It is very bipolar. It is up or down very quickly. So if you were trading this, you'd probably start adding to a position based on a multi-month bull div. I mean, anything that has a multi-month bull div to me is good enough. Previously, it had a multi-month bull div and kept going. You know, that's the fear, that the div, despite being long in duration, won't turn price around. So if this does turn around, I'd expect 002 as sort of the mean reversion point. And like I said, you're either a buyer on the div or you're just ignoring it, waiting for new all-time lows. Lastly, let me just mention the EPTC fund and DeFi portfolio. I trade for Techme Capital and Enzyme.finance, where you can send Ether, USDC, or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including AUM, performance, allocation, all the vaults. I'm in here on Comp, Aave, and Yearn. We did hold Bancor at one point. We're not holding Bancor currently. And you can also see the trades in the trades tab down below. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.